Four changes on our roster from the last time in which we played. Mark Rollrichter is no longer on the football team, as well as Tony Bua, so they needed to be filled somehow, some way. Robert Rodriguez will now be on the 46-man roster. Also, Jay McNeil will be on the 46-man roster. He has been on the injured list. And then we added two defensive linemen in an area where we were very short. A.J. Lindsay is a young man who we had here in training camp, so it didn't take him long to get back in, knowing what the system is all about. But somebody that we've been paying particular attention to, he's been on our negotiation list, is John Sept, a young man from Rice. He had some experience with the Seattle Seahawks, practice roster at the New Orleans Saints, NFL Europe in Frankfurt, and then most recently he had a training camp with the San Francisco 49ers. Again, opportunity for us to add a little bit of depth in an area where we have been thin. So those are the changes to our 46-man roster. It appears that when you give coaches a great deal of time off, anything is possible. The only thing that I can guarantee you that we'll have 12 men on defense, 12 on offense, and hopefully 12 on special teams when we're supposed to be out there. It's a nice matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look forward to it. Last time we played here, it was a pretty exciting finish. I don't know if there'll be that many points put up. The moment that you think that many points will get put up, that's when it becomes a defensive battle, and the score could be 10-8. I'm not sure if our television partners would be happy with a low-scoring game, but anything's possible. The only thing that we're really looking forward to is doing everything in our power to try to get that W. Any questions? If the young man comes from the States, you tell them this is Michigan State, Washington State, Oregon State, even North Carolina State. First time I arrived down in Raleigh, North Carolina, the people said you only had to win one game. You only had to beat North Carolina, and it was a great year. That's the emphasis that happens to be put on this kind of rivalry. Heaven forbid we won a Grey Cup in Edmonton, and somebody still came up to me and said, well, yeah, but you still didn't win the Labor Day game. And you're going, you've got to be kidding me. There's some importance that's put to it, which is really neat. I can't put my finger on it. The fact that football is being played across Canada and the United States on a university and college level. People are getting back to being in school. We like each other so much that people decide to come to the games. Whatever it is, the road to the Grey Cup usually goes through the province of Alberta. Well, right now, people are saying that we're not in that caliber yet, but somebody asked me and said that, and I said, you know what, we're not in last place, we're in third place. And so we got two teams tied for third, and but the West is going to be tough again, and so this does really set up an interesting challenge, because this can really catapult somebody's second part of the football season, and somebody else is going to have to fight like cats and dogs to get back where they want to get to. But the only stat that I really care about is I know the wins and losses, but the other one that always intrigues me is the turnovers. I do know, and I've been charting it for the last 20 years, what teams go into the playoffs. And the teams that go into the playoffs, they don't worry about the wins and losses, that's the obvious one. But the teams that are on top of the turnover battle are the teams that are moving on in the playoffs come playoff time. And usually the teams that have the highest turnover ratio are the teams that end up playing in the Grey Cup.
So you're worse in the league right now in that category. How do you change it?
Oh, yeah.
How do you change it?
Well, you don't. You know what you do is, if you watch practice, which I know you did, Mike, is that you beat the quarterbacks with dummies as they jump into the landing pit that we have. And I know you're thinking, are you serious? Yes, I am serious. It's just one of the things that George has had the opportunity. We have a crash pad out on our football field. And one of the things you worry about is that ball security, and one way in which to work on it is to emphasize it over and over and over again. And so one of the drills that we've been doing, and I actually, it's enjoyable because it's during special teams time, and I always turn and take a look at the bill, and because I see somebody with yellow dummies hitting the quarterbacks, and I wish I could go and do that. And well, seriously, but, you know, then I don't get thrown in jail for hitting somebody, but hitting them with the dummy is a little bit different. But it's an emphasis that has to be applied somehow, some way, because everybody knows it. How do you make it happen? And you try to emphasize it over and over again, and some coaches seem to be a lot better than others. One of the best coaches in the CFL, and it's a shameless plug for somebody that I worked with when I was with Edmonton, is Rich Stubler. For some reason, somehow, some way, he has his defense convinced, and they do it all the time, that they're ball hawks, that they take the football away. And it's not by accident. Some coaches have a better opportunity, better way in which to do it. The only way that you can guarantee that it's not a turnover is that when you are tackled, hand the ball to the official, and there's no way that you can leave it up to his discretion. So it's one of those areas that you work on, and obviously it paid us some dividends, because 2 years ago, Joffrey Reynolds was a sloppy running back as far as securing the football. That's not the case anymore, but it's because it had been emphasized to them and they drilled it and worked it so hard that it didn't happen. Well, you have to have 42 players that are committed to the same thing, that, you know, it's about winning that turnover battle to see what you can do. But if anybody had the ideal way in which to make it happen, they could make themselves a lot of money and not have to sit where you're sitting or sit where I'm sitting. We can go and make a lot of money by selling what that magic formula is.
Tom, can you talk about and just assess just how your defense through the first 8 games has been able to get pressure on the quarterback or not get pressure on the quarterback, and also connected with that, how your secondary has been able to, or the struggles they've had?
Well, you know, that was a nicely worded question, because you didn't say that our defense isn't last in every category. Now what are you going to do about it?
Trying to ask it nicely.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And so, we've had our ups and downs. We're a 3-4 defense. We apply pressure with our linebackers as well as our defensive linemen. We had some injuries that also have set us back a little bit, and then in our secondary, it's a matter of trying to get them all which to play with one another without making a bunch of changes. J.R. Ruffin we lost early, and he's been on the 9-game injured, and so that was an opening that created itself. And we had a young man that won the short corner position and let a pretty good football player go with Kobe Reinhardt. And, you know, sometimes you have to make those changes before they bite you, but Brandon Browner, number 27, is a solid football player with some really top-end speed. And you can have all of the attributes that he has, but you can still be schooled by a lot of the receivers that play in this league. And he's doing a nice job. Dwayne Carpenter's coming together. We're not making many changes in the secondary, so I like to think that maybe we'll have an opportunity to start to gel. It was heart-wrenching to play at the playoff game or play the overtime and have them in a 2nd and long situation, and us being a 3-deep zone, and one of our young defensive backs happens to trip over his feet. He's in a deep third and never should have completed the pass. He took it very hard, but you got to get over it if you're going to be a professional athlete. But I think what we're coming around, you know, the toughest thing is preach patience when things aren't going really well. And I truly believe if we're somewhat patient, we'll be able to get the defense playing at the level that we need to in order to get them off the field a little bit quicker. But the moment our offense helps our defense, once we can start sustaining drives, it gets them off the field. And the moment that we can start creating some turnovers with interceptions, forcing some pressure, and creating some fumbles, all of a sudden our statistics will go up immensely.